also what they're saying in the White House and some parts of Capitol Hill. Pay no attention to the CNN reports that Trump campaign advisors were in constant contact with Russian officials during the election season. Pay no attention to what was said between former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and the Russian ambassador.
Instead, some who you see there, some leading House Republicans want to know who exposed this information. The chairman of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees say it is the leaks, not the secretive conversations, that are the real national security concern. They say the Flynn matter is already resolved. Nothing to see here, folks. Move on. Getting to the bottom of all of those leaks, also a priority shared by the president, who this morning tweeted the spotlight has finally been put on the low-life leakers. They will be caught. Let's begin this morning at the White House with our Joe Johns. Good morning.
Good morning, Poppy. The chairman of the House Oversight and Judiciary Committees writing a letter requesting an investigation, citing numerous news reports that refer to things that are supposed to be secret, like the, among other things, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, the monitoring of Michael Flynn's telephone conversations with the Russian ambassador. And so they write a letter to the Inspector General of the Justice Department. We have some quotes. We have serious concerns about the potential inadequate protection of classified information. Federal laws and the Constitution distinguish law enforcement investigation from intelligence collection for good reason. The release of classified national security information can, by definition, have grave effects on national security. Meanwhile, over on the Senate side, a bit more of a focus on the substance. Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, along with Dianne Feinstein, the Democrat who's the ranking member on this committee, asking for transcripts of intercepted calls, as well as a briefing from Justice Department officials and FBI officials on what led up to Michael Flynn's resignations. And they say in their letter, media reports raise substantial questions about the content and context of Mr. Flynn's discussions with Russian officials, the conclusions reached by the Justice Department and the actions it took, as well as possible leaks of classified information by current and former government employees. So that's the status. A little bit of one thing on the House side, a little bit of something else over on the Senate side. Back to you.
All right, Joe Johns at the White House. With us right now, CNN senior Washington correspondent Brianna Keilar, Paul Callan, CNN legal analyst, and Matt Lewis, CNN political commentator, senior columnist for the Daily Beast. Matt, I want to start with you because I watch you on TV, and you've been saying that a risk for the Trump White House is they doesn't have a lot of loyalty on Capitol Hill among Republicans there. But if you look at the House of Representatives right now, and you see Jason Chaffetz, you see Bob Goodlatte, you see Devin Nunes on Intel, none of them seem to be launching investigations into the substance of the reports about the Russian contacts. So, is President Trump winning the first round here, Matt?
Well, yeah, look, I think that the Senate's very different. The senators, for one thing, are elected every 6 years, so they're insulated from the Republican base that still loves Donald Trump. They have more leeway, so I think that the House may be a lagging indicator. Having said that, I do think the members of the House who are worried about intel leaks have a point. Now, they should also be worried about what's happening with Donald Trump and Mike Flynn. But the intel leaks are very serious. I think it's worrisome that we could have a shadow government or a deep state that selectively leaks information and takes down people that it doesn't like. So I think that whether it's Chaffetz or whoever in the House, you know, they should be focused on looking into Trump and Flynn, yes, but I'm also worried about these leaks, which I think are criminal.
So let's look for our viewers. Here's a look at what Chaffetz House Oversight Committee, what they want to investigate and what they don't want to investigate. They want to investigate the leaks. They want to investigate security protocols at Mar-a-Lago when the president talked in public at the country club last weekend about the North Korean missile launch test. And they want to investigate Kellyanne Conway hawking Ivanka Trump's goods on national television from the White House. What they say is already resolved, done, nothing to see here, is the Russia contact with the Trump team. Brianna, to you, what's critical here, as well as the discussion of the leaks, is the fact that they're just not answering CNN's questions. Listen.
Mr. President, are you answering questions about your associate contact with the Russians during the campaign? perhaps no comment on that?
I mean, Brianna, presidents have sort of walked away from questions they don't want to answer, but this seems different.
Well, and also I think Joe Johns as well. So kudos to Joe, Sarah, and Jim for just repeatedly asking these questions yesterday. I think you have to look at this as a couple of different things. One, you see presidents do this when the answer is not good. A lot of times you also see them doing this when they're getting all of their ducks in a row. And you have to consider that Donald Trump said before there was no contact between his campaign and Russian officials. Sean Spicer just this week said nothing had changed that would make him conclude any different. You've had Mike Pence, who has said not only did that not happen, but he said it gave credence to bizarre rumors. So he had gone as far as to say that this was inspiring conspiracy theories about collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. So I don't think that Mike Pence or that Sean Spicer or even Donald Trump would have said these things if they didn't think that they were being honest. So now they're seeing these reports. They're realizing there's information. There was this unknown unknown, as Donald Rumsfeld would have said, and they're trying maybe to figure out what's going on. It could also be the answer isn't good, and also they don't exactly know what the answer is, because when they don't know all the facts, you have officials like this really putting their credibility on the line by going out there and asserting something that isn't true.
Playing for time would be that theory right there in that case. The attacks on the leaks, though, may be something completely different. And just to read you again what Donald Trump has been writing about this morning, he says the spotlight has finally been put on the low-life leakers. They will be caught. Leaking and even illegal classified leaking has been a big problem in Washington for years. Failing New York Times and others must apologize. Paul Callan, counselor, please tell us what is legal and illegal when it comes to leaking.
Well, yeah, it's a very difficult and interesting question. And, you know, most of the provisions of law come out of the 1917 Espionage Act. And essentially, you have to have something that's classified information, and you have to usually be leaking it to a foreign power or putting it in a position where someone could get access to it to the detriment of the United States. They're very difficult statutes to enforce because we're an open country. We encourage communication between people in government and the press because we like open government. And I think the irony here, to me, is that the president is now the government. And when he's talking about going after low-life leakers, he's talking about going after his own government now. He's almost talking about the government like somebody else is running it. He's running it. So essentially, this can be handled internally by the administration. People who leak information can be fired. You don't really need outside authorities to handle that. It's very difficult, though, to prove criminal cases under the Espionage Act of 1917. He's going to have a very difficult uphill battle there.
Let us remind our viewers that this president did not always hate leaks.
On the contrary.
He seemed to like them, relish in them during the campaign watch.
This WikiLeaks stuff is unbelievable. It tells you the inner heart. You got to read it. Through WikiLeaks today, it's just been shown that this is, as I've been saying, a rigged system. WikiLeaks, some new stuff, some brutal stuff. I may not read it to you, but the hell with it. Just trust me, it's real bad stuff. So today, I guess WikiLeaks, it sounds like, is going to be dropping some more. WikiLeaks, I love WikiLeaks.
Matt Lewis, when it was beneficial to the president, he loved them.
Yes, he's guilty of rank hypocrisy, no doubt. I think he was wrong then, but that doesn't mean that what's happening now is okay. And I think we have to ask ourselves, what kind of country do we want? Do we want a country where the American public gets to elect officials